Superboy number 25, written by Justin Jordan, Scott Lobdell, and Michael Allen Nelson, art by Ed Benes. So, Krypton Returns Part 2, picking up after the annual from Action Comics. Superboy, Supergirl, and Superman were sent scattered through time of Krypton's history in order to basically make sure it does get destroyed. Superboy needs to talk to Supergirl and make sure she makes it off the planet. Supergirl needs to beat up a bunch of people in the Clone War, and Superman needs to talk to his dad. So first we open up with Superboy, who's already met up with Kara in her younger age, and she's just like, oh my god, what is that? And they both are looking at some monster, and it turns out the monster is the Eradicator, who apparently in this continuity is the living embodiment of entropy across the universe, and it's saying, none can escape, therefore Kara must die before she's put in that rocket. So Eradicator fires off a bolt at Kara. Superboy managed to get his TK abilities around her to protect her, but she is knocked unconscious, and then the fight begins between Superboy and Eradicator. Then we cut over to Supergirl, who's fighting against the clones, and they're just like, oh, you will kneel and die. We only respect strength here, but they say it in all this broken dialogue. And then Supergirl starts powering up her heat vision, just like, okay, I'm under a red sun, which means I don't have a lot of ability to do this, but I think this will be worth it to maybe scare him a bit. And she superheats this guy's weapon enough that it melts in his hand, and she's like, all right. Didn't seem to scare him at all, so time to fight. And she starts fighting against him. And it turns out, like, yeah, her powers are fading, like, rapidly here. She's able to actually bleed pretty easily. So, as much as she's able to do, but she has to remember her training. And we get a little flashback focus of Laura, her aunt, basically saying, hey, you were raised pretty sheltered. I was raised in the military. I'm going to show you how to prepare for your trials of wearing the House of L's crest. And they go into this ice cave or whatever and are outrunning these giant troll-looking things. And she disables the fuel lines from her little scooter thing that they're flying. And Laura says, if you want to be able to fix it, all you have to do is get it from my backpack. I have extra power cords, but you have to fight me for it. And she's like, what? You said yourself, I'm sheltered and you were raised in the military. How am I supposed to do that? And she's like, because you're going to need to in order to save your life. That's what's important. Here's a knife. That'll make it even. So then we go over to Superman, who is currently being held at Lance Point by Laura, saying, hey, why did you break into Jor-El's lab? And he's just like, I can't say, but I'm not here to hurt you. And she's like, you're the worst burglar of all time. Kicks Superman in the face, and he's just like, oh my god, my mom packs a punch. That's crazy. So he goes flying through some computer tech, and as he lands, his suit starts to change colors, and he regains the House of L crest onto his stomach, the big S. And Laura sees this and be like, whoa, hold on. The House of L, that's... what? Okay, hold on, give me some of your DNA. And so he takes a scanner and like scans him a little bit and says, oh, of course, you've got radiation poisoning. That explains it. But it says yellow radiation. How the hell do you do that? All right, sit here. I'm going to go get Jor-El. He'll be here in a few minutes. And she's like, okay, well, that works out. So then we go back to the Superboy Eradicator thing. Still just a fight going on, and Superboy is just like, oh god, I've got to wrap this up quick. I've got to conserve my energy under this red sun. And then he's like, wait a minute, hold on, I don't do that. I don't need the yellow sun. That has nothing to do with me. I'm gonna just beat him up as normal. So he touches the ground of the city, which is like completely technologically tied together, and he uses his TK ability to basically impale the Eradicator enough to stop him. And as he touches into the city, he's like, okay, I feel what's going on here. We're not done yet, because I can feel like the earthquakes and stuff are getting worse. So Kara wakes up just being like, oh, hey, you took him out. Is it over? And he's like, not quite. So then we go to Supergirl. She managed to fight off all the clones. but she's a lot worse for wear, and she's pretty much out of powers at this point. And there's somebody sneaking up behind her. Somebody's coming to get her, and she's got to deal with that. And as she looks behind her, it's Hell. And he's got a shard of kryptonite in his hand, and he says, "Hey, beloved, I have a gift for you." So, yeah, that's the issue. This is what I was worried about in this event. This is part 2. Part 1 got all the pieces where they needed to be, and then I felt like nothing was going to happen until the end, until we got to part 4. And maybe part 2 was just a slow bit, maybe part 3 will speed it up, but Christ, nothing happened in this issue. We got the most bare minimum of plot movement at all, barring the Superboy stuff, which makes sense. It's his book. That, we should get plot progression for Superboy's plot. But even then, it felt like nothing happened. He was fighting Eradicator for 2 pages and then realized, oh, wait a minute, I have a completely different power set than all the other ones, and I can just win this immediately. And then he does. It's not even a story at that point. So maybe we'll get more elaboration on that. I don't know. I barely care. You know what's worse is that right before this issue in the Superboy trade is Superboy 24, which ends with him not having his powers at the hand of Psycho Pirate, which clearly just doesn't matter. I can't imagine how infuriating it is to read this trade as someone who is not doing the rest of the New 52, because it makes zero sense. All in all, I think I'm probably just going to give this one I want to say 5, but even that sounds too generous. I'm going to go 4.5, just barely under the mark of I like it, because I don't. It's less than okay. It's just an event for no other reason than Scott Lobdell is hopping off most of these books and he wants to have one last hurrah. That's how it honestly feels. So yeah, 4.5 for this. And I believe part 3 is in Supergirl next time.